Right. So today the weather seems to be quite well here, friends. So we are able to have this session in this Zoom meet. If any disturbance comes, if audio is not audible or if it is breaking, just let me know. We'll go back to WhatsApp for today. Okay. Now, friends, those who are not speaking, please kindly keep it on mute. Right. So let's get started, friends. And from today onwards, as you all know, we are starting this wonderful journey of understanding what the classical approach is and how we have to grasp the essence of Organon and philosophy. So I decided yesterday we need to understand or we need to discuss in detail regarding the various methodologies that we follow. Now we'll be taking up the various methodologies for detailed discussion, friends, but I need an assurance from your end. There is no, first of all, let me tell you that there is no compulsion that you have to believe whatever I am saying here. Unless you are not convinced, you can argue. But once you are got convinced that this is right or this is wrong, then you have to give me an assurance that all those methodologies which we will together consider here as a wrong one, you have to give me an assurance that you will not go back to that methodology in your clinical practice. How many are willing to give me that assurance? You can message in the chat box. I want an assurance from your end that if a methodology is proved to be wrong, then I need an assurance from your end that you will not go back to that methodology in your clinical practice. Are you all willing to give me that assurance? Great. So friends, before we start discussing on methodologies, we need to understand what is the potential of homeopathy. What is the power of homeopathy? Of course, like every other system, we also have some limitations. But keeping aside those limitations apart, keeping aside those limitations, if you overall have an analyze, if you overall have a analysis over the true potential of homeopathy, then nobody can say that homeopathy is lacking behind. For all those, almost all the clinical conditions that exist today, we almost have a remedy for that as well. So we should understand what is the essence or what is the quality information that is laid down in our Mater Medica. Knowledge of Mater Medica is very essential for each one of us. We need to understand where we have to use that knowledge and how we have to use the knowledge. Now there are many people who say that homeopathy doesn't work in this case or that case, but we know that from the Mater Medica we have almost remedies for all the clinical conditions that exist today. Like say for example, if you talk about say liver problems or say cirrhosis of liver or maybe say liver enlargement or whatever it may be, so we have a lot of potential remedies which have a very good action on liver diseases, which are very capable in acting in liver diseases. Which are those remedies, friends? You can type in the chat box. Which are those remedies? Chilidonium, yes. Cardus, Carica papaya, okay. Podophyllum. So similarly, when we talk about the surgical cases, like say for example, we talk about say PCOD. For PCODs, which are the effective remedies, friends, which we have in our homeopathic system? When we talk about the PCOD, polycystic ovarian disease, Pulsatilla, Nitramur, CC means what? Calcarea का? अच्छा ठीक है. Sepia, Sabina, Lycopodium. Where you have got this information, friends? That these remedies are good for PCOD, and the earlier you listed a lot of remedies. They are good for liver diseases. Where you got this? Where you got this information from? From where you got this information? Therapeutics book, Allen's keynote, from Boric. Okay, fine. See, friends. Keep aside these, whatever you have made a list of books, or sorry, list of remedies, keep that aside for a minute. Right from first year, we study that in homeopathy, we treat the patient and not his disease. How many of you remember reading that? We treat the patient and not his disease. Do you remember reading that? Homeopathic remedies, homeopathic medicine is for the patient, not for his complaint. Then friends, on what basis we are listing these remedies? किस बेसिस पे, किस आधार पे हम लोग ये लिस्टिंग कर रहे हैं? Let me show you something for what is given in our book, literature, of course. This is taken from Ken's lesser writing. Sorry, this is taken from Ken's lectures on homeopathic philosophy. But it says, every few days, I run across a homeopathic physician who asks, what remedy you are using in such and such case? That is exactly what I asked you today. थोड़ा घुमा के मैंने पूछा है, लेकिन even my question was the same. Which remedy you are using for liver complaints? Which remedy you are using for PCOD? And you people started making a list of remedies like Lycopodium, this, that, sepia. What the literature says. Such a thing has no place in my mind. And I look upon one who speaks in that way as a man untrained in homeopathics. I truly have lost my patient over such thing for the old grey heads. Old grey heads in the sense those people who say that I have 30 years of experience, I have 20 years of experience, I have 40 years of experience, and then they tend to give you this kind of suggestions that for this condition, according to my clinical practice, this remedy works well. I have treated n number of such cases with this remedy. I have treated y number of such cases with this remedy. So that is what it is being referred to, old grey heads. I have truly lost my patient over such thing for these old grey heads who have practiced for years and pretended to practice homeopathy. Do not hesitate to say that the best remedy for epilepsy is so and so. What it is written? Nonsense. Can such list be ever be made, friends, that this remedy is good for this condition, that remedy is this good condition? Is it homeopathy? If the symptoms are matching, if the totality is matching, any remedy can be given to any condition. How many of you agree with me? If anybody wants to speak, they can unmute and they can send their audio message, friends. Absolutely no problem. Do you all agree? So stay away from making this kind of list in your mind. I'll show you one more evidence from the literature. Read this. It is again taken from Ken's lesser writings. It says, it's a burning shame. It's a burning shame upon the homeopathic profession that so large a number of drugs exist in the homeopathic pharmacies and that these drugs are recommended for such and such diseases without any investigation as to their properties, other than perhaps that Dr. So-and-so, on the recommendation of some old woman, has used this or that drug for this dropsy. Such a thing is positively condemned in every line of organon. It is what I don't like, friends. I mute everyone from my end. You unmute yourself and you are speaking at your end. I don't understand, friends. See, I'm unmuting everyone from here, and you are removing that mute, and then you are speaking in your own room. So it creates a disturbance. It breaks the flow of the class. Please don't do that. So such a thing is positively condemned in every line of organon and by every doctrine. There is no principle in it. It is unscientific. How many are convinced, friends? I've shown you the reference from the literature. But use your common sense. Leave aside what is given in the literature. Leave aside that. But use your common sense and think. is the kind of list that we have in our mind. If those list of remedies would have worked in each and every case, then we would not have been facing the critics and allegation today. Isn't it? Do you all agree, friends?
Yes, sir.
Now, can anybody tell me, friends, what is given in the footnote of 148 aphorism, 6th edition of Organon? Organon के 6th edition के 148 aphorism के footnote में क्या दिया है, किसी को पता है? Anybody remember? What is given in the footnote of 148 aphorism, 6th edition of Organon? Okay, let me tell you. You can go back and read. It says that reaching, Hahnemann says that in the footnote of 148 aphorism, 6th edition, Hahnemann says that reaching at a simillimum is a laborious task, sometimes very laborious. बहुत मेहनत लगती है simillimum तक पहुंचने में. And when you have this kind of list in your remedies, what kind of laborious work it is? Gastrointestinal problems, Naxomica. Migraine, Nitramur. Then PCOD, Pulsatilla. Is there any laborious work involved in this kind of prescriptions? Is there any effort involved from your end when you make this kind of prescriptions? No, absolutely no. So these kind of prescriptions are totally unscientific, and they can give you result only if you are lucky. So those kind of results are called as lucky hits. How many are convinced, friends? If I say that we should not have this kind of listing for XYZ remedy for ABC conditions, how many are convinced that we should not have this kind of list of remedies in our mind? So can we all say that this is the wrong number? Anybody wants to argue? Most welcome. Nobody wants to argue. We all are together. So we are discarding this methodology. We will not have any list of remedies for any conditions in our mind. Yes, Mansi ma'am. पूछना है आपको कुछ? Mansi ma'am is asking to wait. I think she has a question. Ken given us a lot of medicine. So what? What about specifics? What is the role of specifics in homeopathy? Do we have a specific remedy? Why such therapeutics are listed? Definitely that needs to be answered. We'll come to that. That is a logical question. Why such therapeutics are listed? Why such rubrics are mentioned in the repertory? Why such sentences are mentioned in the Mathematica? That needs an explanation. We'll come to that. But you, as what your logical mind is saying. Say for example, you have 10 list of remedies for PCOD. You will have enough time to try all those 10 medicine upon the patient. But can you give me in writing that I will give you 100 patients of PCOD? You should cure each and every patient using one of these 10 remedies. Will it be possible? Will it be possible, friends? I'll give you in writing.
No.
Not possible, right? So
No,
which clearly means that this kind of list doesn't work. These kind of lists are made to reduce our workload. And who is going to suffer? We are reducing our workload. ठीक है, 2 minute में prescription हो गया. Who is going to suffer? Our patients are going to suffer. You will give 10, you will try 10 cases, you will get result in 1 case. But what about those other 9 patients? With this kind of prescription, homeopathy is never going to progress. We have to, the basic thing we have to understand first of all is that in homeopathy, the medicine is for the patient, not for his complaint. Getting my point? Now, somebody has asked why the therapeutics is given, why these things are given in the books. We'll come to that later today in another topic. Okay. So shall we move on, friends, to the next methodology?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, We'll go to the next methodology, friends. The most popular methodology, which I think almost 90% of the practitioners are involved into. What is that? The next most popular methodology, which almost 90% of doctors are involved into. They give it very they use it very conveniently. What is that methodology? Prescribing multiple remedies at a time. Polypharmacy. Anybody wants to argue on my statement when I said that 90% of doctors use it? Polypharmacy, multiple remedies.
No, it's true.
It's true. Very much it is true. So, sorry. Right from first year, we read that again homeopathy is based on single medicine concept. But once we get past out, almost 90% doctors are involved into dispensing multiple remedies. Now, to what extent it is true? I'm sharing a short video, friends. Watch it. If the audio is not, or you are not able to listen to the audio, friends, please type in the chat box. I think that it should work. So listen to these. It's a very short video, friends. If the audio is not working, just inform me in the chat box. Okay. Polypharmacy or prescribing multiple remedies. Now, this is the most convenient methodology that many of us follow today. There are a lot of simple things that we do not think about when we prescribe two or more remedies at a time to a patient. So let's discuss in detail about the various aspects of this methodology. As we all know that homeopathy is based on the principle of similia similibus curantur, which means like cures like, where we believe that the given remedy shall produce exactly similar but stronger symptom that already exist in the patient, thereby removing the original weaker symptom. Now, listen to this carefully. When we prescribe two remedies at a time, and if both these two remedies are well known to produce the original symptom existing in the patient, then among these two prescribed remedies, which one will act to produce a stronger symptom to remove the original symptom? And who will decide that which remedy will act? Example, let's say that for a patient who is having sore erectations as one of its symptoms, we have prescribed Nux vomica and Carbovec. Now we know that both these drugs are known to produce these sore erectations. So for this patient, which remedy will act and who will decide that? Let's see what can be the probable answers to these. First of all, we may claim that any one remedy shall act. So then, do we mean to say that these prescribed remedies has that thinking power to decide among themselves as to who will act? Or will you say that these remedies shall act in alliance with each other, something similar to the kind of alliances these political parties make before the elections? If at all it was so, then just imagine practicing homeopathy would have become very simple. There would have been no need to take the case, analyze it, form the totality, or reporterize it. Also, there would not have been any need to read the Organon, philosophy, and the allied subjects too. Some people may come up with an explanation that our remedies act upon the vital force, and the vital force shall decide as to which remedy shall act. Now, this is a clever answer, which means that when two or more options are given to the vital force, it can choose as to which remedy will act. If that was true, then the story ends here. Because if we say that from two or three options, the vital force can choose, then it should also be able to choose from 3000 options. So let's prepare a master remedy containing a mixture of all the proven remedies. And then we shall be able to prescribe this master remedy to all our patients. Let the vital force choose from and decide which remedy shall act. Now, some of us who usually occupies the back benches in classrooms and somehow manages to get their degree may even come forward and argue that who has the time to think about all these things? Everyone is giving, so even I will give. What is the problem as long as we are getting the results? You will get a chance to listen to such excuses even from those people who do not have a BHMS degree, nor have any knowledge of organon, philosophy or allied subjects, but have memorized a few fragments of Materia Medica, and on the basis of that, they tend to play with the health and life of patients. Such people are most dangerous to our entire system. Now, to conclude, we have a simple question to all of you. Sincerely think and answer to your own conscience. If you were not a doctor, would you ever go or take your loved ones to any such doctor whom you know that has the least knowledge and is sitting there and trying his luck with his patients? We hope the video was convincing to make you understand. Were you able to listen to that, friends?
Yes.
So what do you think? I have asked the question at last. Should this methodology be accepted or discarded?
It should be discarded.
What is your opinion, friends?
Not accepted.
It should be discarded, right?
Right.
Is there anyone who want to argue in favor of multiple remedy prescriptions? You are most welcome to argue, friends. Absolutely no issues. But provided the argument should be on healthy basis. Polypharmacy. So can we also say that this is also a wrong number?
Yes.
Do you all go with that?
Yes.
Right. So let's move
I
on.
just have one question. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. In many cases, polypharmacy has also helped, but certain diseases like PCOD, thyroid problems, where polypharmacy doesn't help. But in certain acute conditions, especially in COVID, when there were many patients, I have prescribed many medicines like aspidospirma on clinical ground, and it really worked. Means the patients who had oxygen saturation up to 82, majority of patients aspidospirma helped.
Okay.
So what is your opinion about that?
The answer for that is given in the literature itself, ma'am. I'll quote that after today's class is over in our WhatsApp group. I'll quote directly from the book. Will that be fine?
Okay.
Yeah. See, if this, just think about it, friends. Now, if you walk in today's generation, if you walk into any homeopathic pharmacy, you only see the multiple remedies and patents and combination there mostly. And they are very popular among the patients as well. So if these patents, if these tonics did not work at all, people would have discarded it. People are accepting it, people are using it because it is helping them. But the point is, friends, in chronic cases, when you use this kind of prescriptions, it may help to make the patient feel little better, but it will not cure him. And as madam said, in acute cases, it is quite okay sometimes to go for such prescriptions because acute cases are self-limiting. They have a definite course. And these acute diseases, tend to end in either death or recovery once it has run out its course. So if by any means, as long as the disease does not run out its course, if by any means we can make the patient feel little better, the patient will be happy and we will also be happy. But that is not the true potential of homeopathy in acute cases. We'll come to that. When we'll be discussing the topic how to manage acute diseases, we'll discuss that, what Hahnemann has said about managing acute cases and how it has to be done, and what is the role of these multiple prescriptions, polypharmacy and patents and tinctures in curing such acute conditions. So we'll discuss that during that time. But as of now, are we all together if I say that in chronic cases, giving multiple remedies at the same time is a wrong number? If you want to argue, you should argue, friends, but you should also tell me how. How? For that how, if you have an answer, you can argue. So are we all together, friends? Is polypharmacy a wrong number?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Chaliye. Let's move on to the next methodology, friends. There are two books which you will find on the table of majority of practitioners. Apart from Ken's Repertory, I'm not talking about Ken's Repertory. Apart from that, there are two books which you will find on the table of majority of practitioners. Which are those two books? Any idea?
Boric and Allen's keynote.
Correct. Perfect. Boric's Metromedica and Repertory and Allen's keynote. Very, very handy and useful book for day-to-day bedside prescriptions and practice. How many are using it? Please confirm.
I regularly use both of them.
You regularly both of them. Great. So what about others, friends? How many of you use it?
Sir, I'm using it.
Most of us are using it, right? So we will take up
Yes, sir.
we'll take up this Boric's book for first of all for discussion. Now, if you have used Boric's, you may be knowing that the Boric's book is divided into two parts. The first part is the Metromedica part, and the second part is the Repertory part. Right. So let's take up for the Repertory part for discussion first. Now, classification of repertories is something that we study in the third year, or sometimes in some colleges it is taught in the final year. Classification of repertories. So when we classify repertories, under which classification this Boric's repertory comes?
Clinical.
It is a clinical repertory. Clinical repertory means a repertory which is based on clinical symptoms, right? Now, how do we define a clinical symptom? Who can define? What is a clinical symptom?
It is majority of the time the common symptom, not PQRS.
Yes, that is true, ma'am. How do we define a clinical symptom? If I quote from the book,
during clinical practice.
yes, ma'am.
Pathology which were seen during clinical practice.
Clinical symptoms are those symptoms which were never observed during proving. However, clinically, they were found to be useful in certain conditions. Do you all agree that definition I'm quoting as it is from the book? Do you all agree with that? Clinical symptoms are those symptoms which were never observed during proving. However, clinically, they were confirmed to be working in such specific conditions, whatever it may be. Right? Okay. I hope everybody is going with this definition. Okay? Right. So we'll keep this aside discussion in a minute. I will come back to this. Now, see, friends, we all know that homeopathy is based on the principle of similia similibus curanta, which means that we expect that the indicated remedy will produce the symptoms that already exist in the patient, but with a little stronger intensity, and thereby removing the original symptom. Isn't it? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now my question is, friends, listen to this carefully. Now my question is, from where can we come to know that which remedy has the potential to produce which kind of symptoms? That information from where we can get?
Drug proving.
Drug proving, correct. So the
Drug proving.
symptoms which were observed during drug proving are reliable, completely reliable. Do you all agree?
Yes.
So what about those symptoms which were never observed during proving? Are they reliable?
No.
Think, friends. Irrespective of what you believe, use logical reasoning and think.
I think they are reliable because they are observed during the clinical practice.
To what extent? How consistently? The definition
I
itself
think
says
when it is written in a book,
the definition of clinical symptom itself says that now and then, very occasionally.
It varies patient to patient.
It is not. Is it reliable?
No, I think.
How many of you know that? How many of you know that in our philosophy, it is very clearly written that the clinical symptoms are not reliable. I'll show you. I'll quote that from the book as it is. I'll show you that. But to understand this, friends, I'll give you an example. It is related to cricket. I think basics of cricket, everybody knows it. Okay? Basics of cricket, I think everybody knows it. Now, say for example, your team needs 6 runs to win and only 1 ball is remaining. And you are supposed to send a new batsman. You are the captain of the team and you are supposed to send a new batsman. And your team needs 6 runs to win in just 1 ball. So these are the options that you have. Now my question is whom you will send. These are the options that you have. One is our Mahendra Singh Dhoni. Second is our captain Rohit Sharma. Third is, I don't know, too many people may not be even knowing him. He was a cricketer, ex-cricketer. His name is Manoj Prabhakar. So these are the options available with you. Whom you will send? 1 ball, 6 runs.
Dhoni.
Dhoni. Why Dhoni? Why not Manoj Prabhakar? Why you will trust Dhoni?
Only
Why not Manoj Prabhakar?
many times
Because
it
of
is
Let's look back at
many
the
times
history.
it is
Correct,
observed.
correct. That is my point. That is exactly my point.
experience.
That is exactly my point. Let's look back at the history. Now, this is the figures, friends. In the one-day career, Rohit Sharma has struck 125 sixes and Mahendra Singh Dhoni has struck 123 sixes, which means that they have very oftenly hit sixes. Very oftenly they have hit sixes. So if at all your team needs 6 runs to win, both these two players can be relied upon. They have the history of hitting sixes every now and then. Every now and then they have the history of hitting sixes. So you can trust them. They may win the match for you. But what is the history of Manoj Prabhakar? How much sixes he has hit in his career? Anybody knows?
No.
Manoj Prabhakar is a player who have in his one-day career so far hit no sixes at all. 0 sixes. So he's not reliable. So the previous experience can be compared as drug proving. So if the previous experience can be compared as drug proving and this plays as drugs which has produced it, Dhoni and Rohit Sharma are completely reliable. N number of times they have done it. But Manoj Prabhakar has not done it. If you are sending Manoj Prabhakar to bat, you are taking a big risk. You may lose the match. Isn't it? So these clinical symptoms that we are talking about, they have never been observed during proving. Then how can you with confidence give it to a patient? So a prescription that is made on the basis of clinical symptom, will that be reliable? A clinical symptom which has been, a prescription that has been made only on the basis of clinical symptom which are totally unreliable, can such a prescription be reliable? Point to think, right? Now what the book says. The admission of clinical symptoms into our Mathemedica must be done with greatest caution. बहुत सावधानी से clinical symptoms को हमें Mathemedica में include करना चाहिए. Why? Reason is also given. They can only be incorporated after the most searching inquiry and then should always be so marked that we can tell the clinical symptom from the pathogenetic. Now the last line is very important. The hasty and inconsiderate adoption of clinical symptoms is certainly an evil, and if pursued to any great extent, will render the Mater Medica unreliable. Such a big warning it is given in the book. If we are adding more and more clinical symptoms into the Mater Medica, it will render the Mater Medica unreliable. Now, some people may think that then why we need to add them at all? I'll give you an example to make you understand that. We have hardly 2 minutes left, friends. Now, what is this? What you can see on your screen? Which animal?
Elephant.
It is an elephant. But there is some mistake in this. What is that mistake?
Tail.
No
There
tail.
is not
No
a-
tail.
No tail.
Just because this image is having no tail, just because this image is having no tail, is the animal going to change, or is it going to remain elephant only?
Elephant only.
What is the purpose of adding the tail then? If the tail is added, it makes the image complete. It makes the image perfect. Do you all agree?
Yes.
Yes.
These clinical symptoms are like this tail. They can be added to complete the case, complete the proving wherever it is incomplete. I'll show you the reference from the book for that. The clinical symptom, I think we will not, we have just 1 minute left, friends. Now I'll share this quote in the WhatsApp group where it clearly says that clinical symptoms are not reliable and the symptoms which are observed during proving are completely reliable. That is what it has been said. And further, the book says that the clinical symptoms should be or considered only to complete the image. It is given there. See, the clinical symptom is only admissible to fill up the gaps left by the imperfect proving. So it is just like the tail of an image. It doesn't decide, it doesn't have a decisive role. These clinical symptoms only have a confirmatory role. They don't have a decisive role. I think not too many people would have got convinced yet, but tomorrow also we will continue this session. Then I will give you further evidences and little practical examples to make you understand how logically